Hey my loves, and welcome to this session of Valerie's Craft Corner. So today we are going to be making hardbound journals. This project was inspired by a journal that was made for me that I love. In fact, I thought it was too beautiful to use, but I've decided that's silly and actually will be using it. And I just wanted to give you an example of, because I know some of you are like, Valarie, why are you showing these videos? What are we going to be doing with this stuff for real? And for real, you can make something that is very touching and heartwarming. For example, in this one that was made for me, the idea was that I would write my first book or the story of my life in it. And she even included a picture of me on the back jacket, just like it would be if I had a book published. So I thought that that was super cool. Another example of what I mean by it can be a very lovely gift to give is that here's a journal that I made, and we'll be working on using this style or making this style of journal, but it's for somebody who loves birds. And so to personalize it to them, I included pictures that I painted of birds, photos of birds, throughout, quotes about birds. So you can make it so that it's unique to that person, and thereby that is the value of the gift. Okay, so my pitch is done. So how do you make these wonderful journals? Well, I'll show you. First, you need to get your paper. Again, you can use all types of paper. You can use computer paper, which I will be using largely for this one, cardstock, construction paper, scrapbook paper, and we're going to be using several different types of paper throughout the thing, but for the mainstay of my journal, I'll be using computer paper. For this one, I use computer paper, but for the sections, and I'll talk about sections more in a moment, I use cardstock. So just some of the different things that you could do. Oh, and also, where's the one I made? The pages don't all have to be the same height. Like the back pages here are taller than the front pages. As long as the section dividers are the same size, you can use any kind of paper. And to give you an idea of how detailed you can get, I don't know if you can see it, but this is a tea-stained paper. I did a watercolor wash on some of the papers, so you can really knock yourself out with creativity. All right, how do we get started? So we're going to make sections. And again, sections are just collections of paper that have been folded down the middle and affixed together. I use staples here, but I'll show you how you can also use twine. So first you want to get computer paper, and you want to fold it in half. So you match up one corner, and then you match up the other corner on the other side. Then you bring your hand down the middle, right down to the midpoint, and you go to one side, go back to the midpoint, and then down the other side. And this really allows you to get a smooth and even seam. So you do that for several sheets of paper. I'm using computer paper that I have already used because I don't want to waste anything to show you. And you want, your sections can be as big as you want them to be, but really since they have to be closed, the book has to close. Like if you put in too many pages, it just gets too fat. I would say maybe 5 or 6 pages, pieces of paper, a section. Okay, so I have my section. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, Let's do 6. All right. It might be too much, but we will see. So I need a piece of cardboard. Where is my cardboard? All right, I will just use the back of this journal. I thought I had cardboard, but okay. So what you want to do is you want to take your stapler. You want to open it up. Some of the smaller staplers also open up. You want to find the middle seam and put your stapler where you know the staple will come out, right on that seam. I ran out of staples. That would be no good. I ran out of staples. Okay. Luckily, I've already made my sections. But basically, you want to put a staple here, put a staple in the center, and put a staple on this side. Putting this all together. Now, I will also show you how to do the very same thing using very thin twine or string. I want to get a nice long piece because I'm going to go around it a few times. And so you take your string, you have your pages and your seam, and you want to, leaving a little in your hand, a little bit of starter string over here, you want to go down the seam, holding it tightly once, twice, 3 times. You just want to make sure everything, that the string goes right in the middle. Where's the other side? Okay. If you can, get one string on one side of the seam and one on the other side of the middle seam. But if that's not possible, then don't stress it. You do want to make sure it's tight, so you want to take some time to pull it. And then you want to tie it off. In a knot. Okay, your pages will close. So, if you don't have staplers, like I just didn't, then you can use the twining method, and you would do this for each of your sections. So, I'm going to actually cut off the excess. I'm going to tie it one more time to make sure. And I'm going to add it to the sections I've already made. So, the paper on the outside becomes your section cover, okay? Even if the pages inside here were much taller, much up here, as long as my section papers are the same size, we're golden. So I've already done some sections earlier with staples. And again, I did a little stencil leaf action here, just to give it a little bit of color, a pop, if you like, make it interesting to the eye. So I have, I think, 6 sections now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 sections. Woohoo! Okay, so now what I have to do is glue these together. So what I do is I take 1, 2 sections at a time. Just for the leaf motif, I'm going to make this my front one so you can see it. You're going to get your glue, and you're going to work on only one side. you're going to glue not where the seam is. So pretend there's an invisible barrier about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch at the edge of this. So we don't want to go past there. And you also want to bring the glue all the way toward the edge to make sure these pages go together. So, I don't know, it's clear glue, so it may not show up so much. Open this wider. So, I'm starting on, if my glue will come out. This is a day of epic failure. Okay, ciao. Work, glue. It's really not coming out. That's crazy. All right. Maybe it had a glue lid. There we go. It was. So, I'm gonna keep this side clean. Go down all the way. Go over to the corner. All the way up to the top. And then I'm gonna put a line right down the center. So, this is my glued sheet. In order to stick it to this one, I am going to make sure their butts or the seams match up. And then I'm going to take the outer page of the non-glue sheet and bring it to the corner of the glued sheet so that those corners are matched, and then go over to the other side and making sure that the pages are aligned. Then I'm just going to press them flat. And I have now now see, I didn't take the glue all the way to the end, so you see you have that little bit of seam there. Now I'm just going to do that a bunch more times. I'm going to take one of the seams, or one of the sections, and remember the invisible seam down this side where the seam is. I can't go past that. I'm going to, again, apply glue going all the way to the end, or very close to the corners. And I'm not going to glue the seam, or to the end to the seam. I'm going to go down. And then I go down in the center. Again, I find the next section that does not have glue. I place them back to each other. And then taking the glued outer sheet and the non-glued outer sheet, I match up their corner here on the left. Match up the corners on the right, and then I do a final check of where they are with their alignment. Once I know they're good, press, 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 press. And I keep doing that. Again, making sure I don't go all the way to the seam. And now I will glue this section. And when you're done, you'll have a stack. Line these up. When you're done, you'll have a stack of sections that have been partially glued together. So this is 3, this is 2 more, and I'll put these together. And then you want to put this on something flat, and then you can put like maybe a book on top that has a little pressure so that they can really stick. Again, all I'm doing is taking a glued corner to a non-glued corner. Once I have one corner, I do the second. Then I make sure, oops, that moves. And sometimes the paper will move because the glue is all slippery. And when they're aligned, so when you're done, you have a stack that are not connected at this end, but those pages are connected within, okay? So then you want to take that and put it under a weight. While we're waiting for that to dry, we want to get started on the cover. So I like to use cereal boxes. I think once you wrap them in paper, they are a nice texture or a nice hardness. You could also use a file folder, as I did for this one. You can use cardstock, anything really that you have. So I want to measure my lid or my cover. So this is the size of the pages of the book. I want, my cereal box won't fit that way, it's not tall enough. I want it to be a little bit taller than the pages. So just like a book cover is taller. So just about that amount on top and bottom that it exceeds. So let me measure down, and I'm going to mark and then cut. Now you could also use 2 thicknesses of the cereal box, but I'm also going to cover it in paper, so that will make it a little bit thicker, so I'm not too worried. And what you need for the front, you will also need for the back, so I'm just going to use the piece I just cut as the template to cut the back piece. So now I have my front and my back pieces, but I also need to do a second measuring again because we're gonna bind it with material on the back. So the cover is not going to cover the entirety of the paper. So I'm gonna say, let's say my material goes to there. I want my cover a little bit bigger. And so I'm going to make a mark that's a little bit bigger. pages. And cut. And I'll use this as a template for the back page. And now we want to cover them. You could use construction paper, cardstock. I'm going to use some scrapbook paper because I have it and I rarely use it. And so now's a good time. I'm in a purpley mood, so I'm going to use purple paper. And let's see, will it fit? Oh, perfect. Make sure my book again is. It could even be a little shorter, but I think I'm going to keep it as it is. So you can see that it is bigger than the paper. I could also do it this way, dead center. I actually may do it that way just because it'll be easier, I think, to show you than to have it be all tight to the side. Okay, so I am going to get rid of this little, I didn't get enough of the fold, and I don't want that to affect how it lays. So I'm just going to cut off the fold. And if your front and back are not, like, you won't be able to tell. Little things like that, you won't be able to tell. So now, what I'm going to do is I am going to put the littlest bit of glue on my cardboard so that I can just affix it into place. Just a little bit of glue. And I put it right in the center of my paper. Now, you can see that in terms of the corners, there's so much paper left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut some of that off. And I just make a diagonal cut across the corners, because that paper wouldn't be used anyway. And we don't need it making things bulky. Now you could also use like double-sided tape for this process, but I have glue when it works. So now that I have my piece down and I have my excess cut off, I am gonna fold this side to where it meets the cardboard, and I'm gonna put glue here. I don't know why my glue is acting up. All right, we're gonna see if this big glue will work. So one thing I'm going to encourage you to do is take your glue all the way very close to the cardboard and then work out from there. And then holding the cardboard down, bringing the paper pressure, putting pressure on the paper to come to the very edge of the cardboard. And then fold over and down. Okay. Opposite side. Again, I'm going to bring my glue close to where the cardboard and the construction paper or the cardstock meet. I'm going to then, applying pressure, bring the construction paper all the way to the cardboard and folding it over. Okay. Now I just really push down on the other sides to make sure that they're as flat as possible. Now I want to see how much excess there is if I need to cut more paper. Okay, I think I'm going to be good on this side, so I'm going to put my glue. I'm actually going to, you see these extra little triangle tabs? I'm going to cut those off because they're going to make it thicker because it's 2 pieces of paper of thickness instead of the one like everything else is. So I'm just going to cut out some of the excess and it will make the paper lie flatter. Again, I glue all the way close to where the cardboard meets. Applying pressure. And I'm going to do the same for this side. I'm going to get rid of those extra. It's not as bad on this side. To put my glue. Put in pressure. Bring the paper up against the cardboard. Now, can you see that little bit of extra? What little bit of extra? Voila. And now it's of a durability that you're like, now I know you're thinking, well, what about this side? You're not going to see it. The way that you bind and adhere it together, you're not going to see that side. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing to the other piece of cardboard that we cut. Should I use the same color? I think I'm gonna go with a different color. I'm gonna go with this slate, kind of grayish blue color. Why? Because it was right on top. Gonna put a little bit of glue. Don't need much. Dead center. And actually, I don't know if you can see it, the paper is bending a little bit, the cardboard's bending a little bit because there is a little bit of a wonky edge, so I'm just gonna correct that a little bit. Because you want your edges to be as straight as possible. All right, so now I'm ready. Oh, forgot to cut my excess. Thank you for reminding me. So go over here and I cut off the excess. And cut off the excess. And you can see I'm using a mathematical formula to cut off the excess. That is Not true at all. All right. Glue starting from right where the cardboard meets the paper. Applying pressure. Get that paper right up next to the cardboard. And follow the line down. Continue with the other pieces. And again, before you do these other sides, if you have excess stuff to cut off, just do so. And if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do it. It just really makes it, your corners a little neater. And then you glue. I'm going to put glue on both sides. All right. There's a little bit to cut off here. And a little bit to cut off here. All right. And now I have the back cover. Put those aside. Get my sections that have been, oops. Okay. See, now my sections are glued together, almost like a book. Now we want to do our binding, and that is where we place something over the back side where the staples were, so that we can really operate it like a book. It's pretty fragile if you do it this way, but if we anchor the backs, then it'll be much easier for it to be opened and used. So you can put paper on it, you could put fabric on it. I am choosing to use fabric and paper. And the reason why is because when I made my first journal, I used only fabric, and it feels a little like it will tear if you put too much pressure on it, and it hasn't. Nothing has that has happened. It opens, it's fully functional and everything like that. I just want, I don't know, a little bit more security. And so for this one, before I bound the edge with material, I glued a piece of paper to the fabric so that it's a little harder and more durable. So that's what I'm going to show you to do now. So you want to grab a piece of material. Now let's see my front cover and my back cover. How bad will this green Clasherella? I'm not sure that's the color thing I'm going for. Let's see, I have some purple. This might be too bright, even though, oh, actually it has both colors in it, I think. Kind of, I think that actually would be cool. And then I have a third piece. I think I'm gonna go with this one. Okay, so I want to cut a piece of material that is as tall as my sections, actually as tall as my cover. I want it to have a straight edge, so I'm gonna cut on both sides. So I'm just using my, is this doubled? I'm using my book cover as a template. Now you could also use scissors and, a ruler and be more accurate. And I won't even be using this whole piece of material, so I'm not too worried about the initial cuts. But I do want to make sure that they are the same size. And I'm going to fold my material in half so I can use the line that I just cut as the template for the second side. Okay, so before I cut this material off, oh, that's the back. This side, this side's a little bit more vibrant. Cool. So before I do that, I want to make sure my material is lying flat. You can iron it if you choose to. We're not going that route. And now I'm going to take a piece of cardstock. Let's see, what do I have? Okay, cardstock and black, because you won't see it. And I've already used this piece. So I just want to make sure that it is not as tall as the paper, as the material, because I want to fold the material over the top and bottom of this so that the seam is more polished. Okay, so you see this material will come over on this side, and this piece will come over on this side, and then I don't need this much out. Like, I really don't need. All right, so this is gonna be my sort of anchor. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue. And I'm going to place that in the center, knowing that I'm going to have excess on either side. Then I'm going to put a strip of glue on either end of the paper. And I'm going to fold the material up and onto the paper. Making a seam. And with the bottom, making a seam, pressing. Okay. Now I know I won't need this much material, so I'm not even going to complicate my life. I'm going to cut off some of this excess. And I know some of you are like, girl, why aren't you using a ruler? I trust myself. I don't know. I think I trust myself to figure out how to undo or make the most of any mistakes. All right, and then I'm going to get rid of this wrinkly part. And also another thing that is important to note is that these, even if the ends of this are completely irregular, you won't actually see them. Look at that piece of cardboard trying to make an appearance. You won't even actually see them by the time we're done binding and putting the covers on. Okay, so now we are ready. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take the material I don't know why this seems shorter now. See, now I made an irregular cut and we're going to just fix it and bring that down. And we're going to do the same on this side. I hope that doesn't mean my covers don't fit. That would be crazy. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to fit your sections into the material, and it's like an exact fit. All right, so you're going to fold that piece of paper around it, right around the book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this side, glue this piece of material to this side, glue this piece of material to this side, okay? This is our front section piece, so you're not supposed to see it anywho, okay? Now, I don't want to glue, I don't need to hold it there. I don't want to glue all the way here. So I'm not going to glue in here, right, in that where that piece of material is. And I'm going to leave about an inch, 3/4 of an inch, where I don't put any glue in the seam. And that will allow the book to have movement, okay? That'll allow the spine to turn all the way like that, okay? So we're going to glue here, leaving about an inch on this side, and then I'm going to lay the material down, and I'll show you it I mean. So again, I am not gluing where the seams are. Okay. I lay my pages in just like I did before. And I press down. And then you can flip it over, lay it down, keeping that pressure. Now, when you glue this second piece, again, you want to make sure you don't glue the seams. So again, keeping that same 3/4 of an inch spacing away from the seam, you're gonna put glue. And before you bring this other piece over, you're going to just push down on the sections so that they don't, so that there's a little bit of a tight, snug feel. You bring your material around. Now, this is going to take a few moments to dry. I'm going to flip it back over to this side. All right. Now we're going to take our front cover. Now, just like the cut of the other one was off, the cut of my cover is off by quite a bit. So I'm just going to cut off that excess. Because I want it to be bigger than my pages, but not a whole lot bigger. And I'm just going to okay, and then what we do to one, just like in math, what we do to one side, we must do to the other. Now you can, I don't even think it'll show. For example, you can't see any cardboard or whatever, but you could also, when you're personalizing it, treat it with a border or anything like that to distract from that if it is apparent. All right, so now we're going to take our front cover. A little excess there. Okay, so the front cover doesn't fit the entirety of the book. It fits about, like you have that much of a border left. So you want to make sure that you don't put any glue on that border, on that, because that material won't be, that will be seen. So then you're just going to take your glue using your finger. You're going to glue on that page, go to the corner, go on the material, glue it up. And then you're going to press this down, starting from the book binding edge. And when you find where it should be. Press, 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 press. Ooh, did I make the camera vibrate? Sorry about that, guys. And then you're going to repeat that same thing with the back. Remember, you're going to line it up with the cover, the front cover, and that will give you your border. You put your finger down so you don't put glue past that point. And then going all the way to the edge of that paper. Now, you're not really done until you have pressed this into between two books or something like that so that it really dries and it adheres. But essentially, this is your journal. You can further decorate it. You can add like bits of material, make a pocket. You could put a note inside that pocket. Get creative. These can be really sweet. Now, so you see there's a little bit of a separation between the cardboard and the material. I'll show you. Do I have any here? Okay. So, because I don't particularly like that. So, what I do or did is I would take a ribbon and glue it right over that seam. Okay? Just like I did in this instance. I used a purple ribbon right here. So, that's essentially how you make a journal. You could make it using art paper. You can make it twice as big. You could make it so that the binding, so that it opened this way, like top to bottom, not this way, side to side. As personal as you can make it. Use postcards. You could use cards. You could use magazine images, anything, stickers, anything to embellish and make things look cool. So remember, they're as personal as the effort that you put in, and these journals make a lovely, thoughtful gift. And please don't spend money this Christmas season. Bye, my loves.